Hey guys, Devin from Boostin Performance here. I got something a little special for you guys. We got a 2017 GTR loaded up on the dyno today. And we're going to kind of show you the process that we go through when we tune these cars. We're going to be tuning this GTR on ECUTek. We do also offer tuning for cob axis port and road tech when it comes to GTRs. But basically this customer had an issue with drivability. So he had fitted the car with some intakes that were supposed to be okay for the stock tune. But obviously, you know, with these cars, it changes load a little bit. So the drivability was affected, mainly the transmission shifting points and how they shift. It's all based on load, which is calculated through the map sensor. So he had some drivability issues. We're going to resolve those today, tuning the car via ECUTek. We're going to do a ECU tune, and we're also going to do a TCU tune, which is going to tune the transmission, clutch pressure, shift points, all that stuff. One of the procedure that we always do with these cars is, especially when the car's been modified or touched, we always want to do a boost leak test. So we did a boost leak test on this car, and we actually found that the blow-off valves were leaking. So we've got them fitted with some aftermarket blow-off valves that aren't leaking anymore. The external ports are closed off because that works the best with a MAF setup when you actually recirculate the air and you don't vent it to the atmosphere. So we've got everything buttoned up with this car. Mechanically, no boost leaks. Got the aftermarket intakes that now we can account for in the tune, and we're going to make this thing drive a lot better for this customer. So let's get started. All right, so the numbers are in. This is a baseline pull. I did make a change to account for the intakes, just so fuel trims weren't crazy out of line. But it made just over 500 horsepower and just over 450 foot-pounds of torque. So we should not only be able to make more power and torque the entire power band, but we should be able to smooth it out a little bit nicer than that. You see how it's kind of bumpy? It should be a little bit smoother, a little bit nicer. And then, like I said, the main customer's concern was that drivability, so that's going to be also fixed. So we're going to hop back in there, load up our ECUTek base map, and then work from there. Super successful dyno session. We'll show you the gains here in a little bit when we step out of the car. But like we said before, the customer's main concern was that drivability issue. And with these cars, fuel trims are really, really important, which is basically how much the car is compensating fuel-wise from its base tune. So any variation from that is going to cause a correction. And with these cars, when you have a good amount of correction, the load isn't right, basically. So that throws off the transmission shifting, even how, like, when the car is at a dead stop and you hit the gas and you engage the clutch, it'll make like the car jumpy if the load isn't correct. So it's really important with these GTRs and the dual clutch transmission that you get that right. So we were able to refine that. A lot of cars talk about, like, or a lot of cars, it's like a zero fuel trim that you want, which is basically like a zero correction. On these GTRs, it's the same kind of thing. It's 100%, which would be zero correction. So right now we're really close to 100% when we're, you know, engaging the clutch, and when it's under low load conditions, when it's shifting through the gears, it's basically very minimally correcting for that. So the drivability is going to be awesome on this car. And then aside from that, to be honest with you guys, I mean, tuning wide open throttle is the easiest part of the tune. So, I mean, usually a good tuner is going to spend most of its time tuning the idle conditions, the drivability conditions, the transitions between gears, because that's where a customer is going to be 99% of the time. You know what I mean? So those are good on this car. Wide open throttle gains are going to speak for themselves. But I think in the end, the customer is going to be super happy. And the gains are incredible, especially because there's only 2 mods to this car. There's a wide pipe back exhaust and the bigger intakes. Technically, blow-off valves shouldn't make more power. It has aftermarket blow-off valves, but it fixed a boost leak. So if you fix a boost leak, it's going to make more power. But why don't we hop out? We'll check out the dyno sheet. I'll show you guys what's going on. All right. So yeah, the gains speak for themselves. The red line is the baseline, which is the tune the car came in on, with the correction for the intakes, because we don't want to run the car lean or rich or anything like that. You want it to compensate for those intakes. So red is our baseline. So we went from basically 505 horsepower to, we'll say 555, just to make the math even. That'll be a 50 horsepower increase. So that doesn't really tell the whole story, because that's only talking about the peak from here to the peak there. So there's a 50 horse gain between this peak and that peak. But if you look in the center of the power band, man, it is fat. I would say it's probably 100 horsepower gained right there. So our torque went from 456 up to, let's say 455 up to 580. So that's gonna be 45 plus 80, wow. 125 foot-pounds of torque. So, and then, you know, that's across the entire power band. So this thing really gained a lot. We just finished up our dyno tuning session, and I was gonna give you guys kind of an inside glimpse at tuning the boost curve on this car. So a GTR, you set a boost target, and then you have a base wastegate duty cycle table. So you can see the red is the base wastegate duty, this red line right here, and the green is actually what the car is doing. So you can see, like right here, the car is actually running about 10% less wastegate duty because it's overshooting the boost target. So what you want to do is basically get these two to match. So this is one of the earlier logs. You can see it's compensating. I'll show you guys here. Open up a later one. There we go. Same 2 items there. We've got the base wastegate duty, which is basically your tune and what it's set at. And then the green is what the car is actually doing based on your boost target. Sorry, I keep clicking the right mouse instead of the left. So if you look here, the green and the red, right here, 164, 165. So really close. Move a little bit over here. Same thing, 163, 164. Right there, 63, 61, 2%. Right here, back to 64, 64. So it's not compensating at all. And that means that your tune is dead on for what the car wants in the real world conditions. So at that boost target, the car is not compensating. It's using basically the base wastegate duty table, which is what you want. So that's really, really nice. Any compensation from that red line is going to be due to the car either undershooting or overshooting boost. And then the car can either add or subtract wastegate duty based on that. So kind of an inside glimpse at the boost curve and how you do it. If you look at final numbers, before it made 505 basically, now it's making 555, so you gain 50 horse. Now that only talks about this peak to this peak, the difference. Okay. Now if you look at the center of the power band, it's probably making 100 horse difference. You know what I mean? So I mean, in the center of the power band, it's making a ton.
That's not bad for this stock.
Yeah, stock with a wide pipe back exhaust and some intakes.
Yeah,
definitely pretty good results. And then torque went from basically 455 to 580. Okay. So I mean, some serious gains there, 125 foot-pounds of torque. So I mean, it's gonna feel like a completely different car. Like from the moment you step on the gas, it's coming into power sooner. You see how even on spool up, it's coming into power sooner, right? We do that with the valve timing. And then it's just making a ton more. And then if you look at the stock power curve, see how it's a little herky and jerky? Where this one's, it hits a lot more smooth and consistent. So yeah, I mean, definitely some good results. Pretty happy with it. And then all those drivability issues are taken care of. Appreciate it. I knew exactly what it was as soon as I test drove the car.
Okay.
So that's taken care of, and that's where you're going to be 99% of the time. Like, this is great, but like if the car doesn't drive right,
Right. I mean, it was doing it for the last 2-3 months, but it's been cold, so it's just been. I don't drive it that much. It just sits in the garage.
How long have you had the intakes on it?
Maybe 3 months.
Yeah. Okay. So around the time the intakes went on.
Oh yeah, I started noticing it right 2 weeks after the intakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll do it. That'll do it. All right. Cool. So sit back, relax, check it out. So yeah, 18, 16, 14. And then to go back up, 16, 18.
Okay.
So that's how you go back up and set your different boost
Those are
levels.
3 maps.
Yeah, if the car had injectors, we could go a little bit higher, say like 20 pounds target boost, but since the car's on the factory injector, you got to kind of limit boost to make sure that we don't get out of control, because the car wants the fuel and it doesn't have it with the factory injector. So
Okay.
that would be like your next round of miles.